Thank you for watching. Now, I mentioned earlier the Vanderbilt Hospital and the the exposure of the money-making machine that is that place. Kids being subject to all sorts of transgender procedures, and that has caused a big outcry in the States. Meanwhile, in Britain, there was a demonstration in Brighton on the weekend which saw women's rights groups and lesbian women's rights groups putting on a demonstration for women, and they were basically attacked by trans rights activists, and it got out of hand. Joining me to discuss this is, of course, Katherine Deves, who you know, she ran for Parliament. She should be in Parliament for the Liberal Party. She set up Save Our Women's Sports in Australia, and the founder of the women's rights group Standing Up for Women, who is Kellie-Jay in the UK. Kelly, great to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. So Katherine's here, Katherine Deves is here. We're big supporters of yours. Tell us about what happened at Brighton, how it came to be, your background, and what happened in Brighton on the weekend.
Well, I've been in this space of women's rights campaigning since 2015, since I found out that men were literally calling themselves women and we were supposed to go along with it. And then really active since 2018 when I was interviewed under caution by the British police for 6 tweets in which I so-called misgendered a man and said he was a man, and also said it was abusive to take a child to Thailand to castrate him. And the British police decided that might be some sort of hate crime. So we decided to take this. What we've done basically, Rowan, is we've seen that social media and tech giants are silencing women. So we've basically gone back to the old-fashioned public square and actually conducted meetings in Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park in London. And now we're taking it around the country. And we've even done one outside the White House in Washington.
I see you've got the definition up there of an adult human female for a woman, which many of our politicians and our chief health medical officer struggle to actually pronounce. Katherine.
So, Kelly, great to have you on the show. What I would like to ask you is, do you feel that what happened in Brighton on the weekend was a watershed moment for the movement? You've provided this amazing platform for women to be able to speak, but obviously the trans rights activists turned up and demonstrated their true colours. So do you feel it's a bit of a turning point?
I really hope it is. I mean, there was a man arrested who was shouting at women about, and he seemed to be on the trans rights activist side, and he was arrested with a bag of knives. And then we had somebody who works for a local Labour MP shouting fascist at a baby, which I laugh at because it's so preposterous. But I think we have many of these watershed moments, and I perhaps need to wait 6 months to see if it really does transpire to be one. But you would hope, I mean, we took it right into the belly of the beast because people in Brighton are absolutely fed up of having basically white, privileged, straight men in dresses take over the LGB movement. So I hope that what we're doing bit by bit is creating more and more space where people can actually speak. And we don't really have extra special women or hierarchies. We just, anybody that wants to tell their story will tell their story. For example, there's a woman with a disabled child who's really worried. She's nonverbal. As she gets older, who will care for her daughter? And at the moment, you can't guarantee that it actually will be a female taking care of females. And we know what the risk will be to those women.
Kelly, I wanted to ask you, Katherine and I attended earlier this year a meeting, a feminist lesbian group in Brisbane, and one of the women there, she'd fought the feminist movement with Germaine Greer back in the 70s. She'd proudly demonstrated in the street. She'd made, she had every politician on her speed dial. They all knew her and loved her until about 2 or 3 years ago, when she was suddenly on the wrong side of the transgender debate. No one would return her calls. What's it like being, for you, the leader of a feminist movement that wants women to be women and rejects transgender women, i.e. men, as being part of that group?
Well, I'm quite lucky. So I'm not actually a feminist. I call myself a women's rights campaigner. And that's because I don't want anybody to not feel that this movement is for them. So I want all women to understand that, just on the basis that they understand that a woman is an adult human female, that they have access to support, and they don't need to understand any theory, because we all know what it feels like to be a woman, because we are women. So I've kept myself very much out of any of these other political ideologies, which means that you can get cancelled because suddenly you don't subscribe to the same fundamental ideas. So that's kept me really safe, I think, and kept my message absolutely crystal clear, that we are not giving up a single moment of what woman means. We're not diluting our language. We're not sharing it with men. It's just very, very clear.
Fantastic. Katherine?
So, Kelly, here in Australia, we're a couple of years behind the women's movement against this transgender ideology here in Australia. So do you have any advice for us women down here who are fighting this battle?
Well, first of all, Katherine, I would say, can everybody just follow you? Because I think you've been an absolute
Absolutely, Kelly, absolutely. She's a star.
But also, look, talk to schools, take it to the streets. Don't take no for an answer. You know, women are very used to having our words, like the word no, completely discarded. So I do think it will take numerous small acts of bravery, which is insane, right? It's insane to say that if you go in a room and you say that you don't want boys in the same changing room as girls, and you don't believe those boys can be girls, that you can be cancelled. But they can't cancel everybody. And so those people, we are the silent majority. I mean, some of us are quite vocal, but most people don't know what's happening. And obviously the press often can be against, and then people can be accused of being far right just for saying women don't have penises. But I think you just have to keep saying it, and collaborating with other women's groups, and just putting differences aside. This is, I keep saying, you know, the house is on fire. Our children are inside. You just have to get together and take the water.
Well, Kellie-Jay, I think it's thanks to you and Katherine and women as brave as both of you that we are seeing things starting to turn in this space. Thanks so much for coming on the show this evening. Real pleasure to meet you. And thanks, Katherine, as always. Still to come, unfortunately, it's not just King Charles and Harry that are going woke. Now another royal has jumped on the climate bandwagon. In a tick.